Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and it's an honor to be here with you today. So, I want to talk to you guys about something I was not expecting to talk about, considering we just literally had this new moon in Gemini. And as I record this, the moon is at 29 degrees Gemini, about to ingress into Cancer. So, we will have our first taste of some Cancer season energy with the moon there, but that's really nothing to really dwell upon at the moment. Because until we get Venus, Mercury, and then of course the Sun in Cancer, we really don't have that Cancer energy dominant front and center, in the collective story. And of course, wherever Cancer is in your birth chart, because those energies will begin to sink into you, and reanimate themselves more dominantly. And of course, if you have any Cancer placements, they will get activated. But I wasn't planning on talking about the full moon in Capricorn coming June 20th, June 21st. But I was nudged, of course, by some inspiration to just briefly talk about it, because I will talk about it more as we get closer. I will potentially do an all signs little forecast, for everyone. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up today to you is because from both of the new moons we had and then that full moon in Sagittarius, those are the last three major lunation cycles that we've had. And all of them have been very auspicious and good and positive. I feel they were all amazing points in time, especially after the solar eclipse and the massive impact that Mercury retrograde had on Chiron, and just the fact that Chiron was involved. Again, I feel like I'm still talking about it because until there's no major aspects to Chiron anymore, or major conjunctions, or again, once Mars gets out of Aries, that Chiron story was such a pivotal moment. There was so much that we needed to learn, needed to realize, and I really hope everyone sort of got a glimpse of what that could have been in their life. Because I think we all have some Aries, issues, at the moment. And that's exactly what Chiron wants to highlight. So whenever we're dealing with transits in Aries ever since Chiron's been in Aries, whenever something gets really triggered there is something in our karmic story that is very important right now. It's still very important. But all of the moon phases, new moon in Taurus, full moon in Sagittarius, the new moon in Gemini, all very positive. A lot of beautiful. Venus has been involved in the last two new moons, which is brilliant. And even during the upcoming Capricorn full moon, Venus will be in Cancer. So Venus, in a way, will still be influencing the Sun's involvement with the full moon. I think Venus will be at 9 degrees of Capricorn, if I'm not mistaken. Or that might be Mercury. But again, we're not dealing with a conjunction to the Sun, but we still have Venus in Cancer, which, to be in Cancer for a sign like Venus, I think that's a really good energy, especially with the moon being Cancer's domicile. So even though the full moon in Capricorn will be opposite, of course, the moon will be opposite Cancer. This always creates a moment this is where Capricorn full moons can go both ways for people. But considering the moon is involved with Cancer, these full moons, every single summer, I think it's a call for balance, in some sort of inner journey and a calling for nurturing. But even though the Capricorn full moon is really nothing about nurturing at all. The Capricorn full moon is about understanding our steadiness in putting that into focus and discipline in some regard to our ambitions, and in some regard towards our focused intentions regarding something we're working towards, if that makes any sense. Now, of course, we can say to ourselves, okay, well, it seems like every time the summer comes around, most people aren't worried about their ambitions. Most people are worried about having fun, right? But the truth is that a lot of us have the most energy during the summer solstice. And that is what makes this full moon so unique, in my opinion, is because it is literally profecting on the summer solstice. And I've done some homework and tracked backwards, and anytime the summer solstice has come around, we have not had a full moon, and I didn't track back far enough to see if it's ever, I'm sure it's happened before in history, but I did not go that far back to say, hey, the last time a full moon in Capricorn happened was on this date, on the summer solstice, because honestly, I didn't go back that far. But the fact that this is happening now, considering all of the stuff going on in the world, all of the stuff we've been through astrologically, all of the major shifts and transits that are sort of lining up in such a way that are very auspicious and unique, is something that I feel I must, bring up from now. So a Capricorn full moon happening directly on the summer solstice, to me, is a intuitive ping for us to study and to take an inward journey and see where this might be lining up in your life, right? So where's Capricorn in your life? Where was Gemini recently in your life? Because again, we were planting seeds in Gemini, which may have nothing to do with your Cancer Capricorn axis, but still, I feel with all the recent lunar transits where we were planting seeds or putting new intentions in the world, and with the Aries story, we were learning and coming into some new form of identity and self, or at least trying to figure out what's going on with that. So now we're getting to a lunation phase where it is all about seriousness, hard work, discipline, ambition, being practical, but also very grounded. So these are all things, when we use astrological shamanic magic, we can use to our benefit. So what can we use in our life? What do we need to adopt, when it comes to Capricorn energy, that will be illuminated, not only in the house topic that falls in, but just generally speaking in the holographic view of your life? And the summer solstice represents many things to many different cultures. But in a roundabout way, it represents the fact that in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, it is the longest days of the year. I know I may be speaking to some people in the Southern Hemispheres of the world, but, in my Western traditional practices, my viewpoint is strictly the long days of the year. So for us, we're dealing with light being seen the most. And this is why in the summer months, we have the opportunity to have more energy, to have more focus. We have the opportunity to be more alive, so to speak, because when the darkness is, more dominant, we kind of have a feeling of retreat. We kind of have a feeling of, okay, hibernation. We need, it's more of an internal journey. Where after new moons in Taurus, or actually, new moons in Taurus after wild Aryan energy, full moon in Sagittarius, then new moons in Gemini. These are all very activated, very ambitious, and let's get this party started. Let's get this life going. Let's get our work to begin. Let's figure out the new things we want in our life to be born. So Aries season, of course, is the beginning of the astrological year. It's not January 1st like the rest of the world. It's the beginning of Aries season. That is when astrologers' New Year's truly is. And this really allows us to create a new cycle, new intentions. No matter what's going on in your life, no matter what placements you have in those signs in the zodiac, it is just a point in time where we can truly begin putting new intentions into the world. you know? And considering Aries season for us started so powerful with so many breakdowns and breakthroughs, I would say, and then leading into some crazy Jupiter Uranus influence, and then of course everything moving through Taurus, I'm going to keep talking about that, because all of that is sort of setting up in a progression to where we are now. And we've had, again, that new moon in Taurus was gorgeous with Venus and really allowed us to, I think, ground ourselves with some new things in that particular area of your life, or whatever area of your life. And then we had the full moon in Sagittarius, which was illuminating, a path of truth, and I think a path of courage for us to maybe understand more deeper truths about life, ourselves, maybe piggybacking on some of the things we learned through the Chiron Aries moment. And then the Gemini new moon, of course, we had Venus still very much involved. So Venus has been playing a massive role in a lot of this stuff, which I think has been providing a lot of creativity and a lot of inspiration, and maybe allowing a lot of people to come back to the heart. I think that's a message I've been trying to put into the world, that, getting back into a more sensitive and vulnerable place would be beneficial for maybe goals and shifts and pivots in one's life. So Venus has definitely been a major player here. And this new moon in Gemini, which at the moment of recording this, we're still heavily dealing with Gemini energy. But within the next week or so, we will have Venus and Mercury getting into Cancer, and that will start the beginning of Cancer season. Technically not, but in a way. And then once the sun arrives in Cancer on June 20th, we will have a Sagittarius moon, which I think we can maybe even link into the recent full moon in Sagittarius. There's a little bit of a potential karmic point reminding us of what that Sagittarius full moon was all about. And then within literally a half a day, we will have a perfected Capricorn full moon on the same day as the summer solstice. So there is a very auspicious, I think, intuitive message for all of us. And that really is where we have an opportunity to take advantage of the symbolism of the most illuminated day of the year, and to somehow bring that into whatever Capricorn's total potential can bring to your life. A Capricorn full moon is a point of illumination for seeing clearly what would need to be focused on most, and what might be most important to focus on, to work on. And again, I feel and this is why I really wanted to talk about this from now, because I feel we can have some time now after this new moon in Gemini. We can have some time to think and contemplate. Either what is your Capricorn story in your birth chart? Like, what is that? Is there anything that you need illuminated there? Is there anything specifically that's important to you that you really need to put a lot of attention and focus, have more discipline in? Whatever the case may be. Or we can just look at the other stories that have transpired in the last couple of months, or with the recent Gemini new moon, and we can say to ourselves, okay, well, after everything the last month or the last couple of weeks or the last 2 months have brought to me, what can I use this summer solstice in this this reality of so much light being available to me, in addition to the focus on making the efforts needed to make them real, right? So Capricorn is practical. It is earth-based. It wants to build. It wants to create. It wants to take life seriously and really put the effort in to manifesting. It doesn't have time for magic. It doesn't have time for bullshit. It does not have time for, thinking too much. It does not have time to exert too much energy. It is all about like, okay, it's time to sit at the desk, put our glasses on and write, It's time to pick up the pen and start drawing that building, because we need to build this building and we need to build this house, Capricorn is very like to the book. So having a Capricorn full moon on the same day as the summer solstice, I think, is another auspicious point in time after everything we've gone through to bring to us a massive surge of energy to begin truly achieving things we want to achieve. Okay? So the summer solstice, again, like I said earlier, every culture kind of has a different interpretation of what that can mean, you know? But usually they're points of celebration to celebrate, you know, the 2 points of, you know, where the Earth sits in our solar system in regards to the amount of light or lack of light we receive. So for me, as a shamanic astrologer, I kind of look at these as light versus dark. And I think in the moments throughout the year where we have the most light, there's the most opportunity to be alive, right? Because we can stay up later. You know, we can wake up earlier and we can go to bed later. You know, we have more energy because the light is playing with our minds and allowing us to sustain, you know, more energy. We're in the winter. There's the winter solstice. We maybe feel more tired or we want to retreat more and all this other stuff, which has its benefits too. But because we have a full moon in Capricorn, which is allowing us to really amp up, you know, our focus and our intention and our manifesting and our, you know, nose to the grindstone type of vibes, you know, as we enter in Cancer season. So we always deal with the Cancer Capricorn axis with a Capricorn full moon, which can provide some softness, right? Some ease and some nourishment there. And again, this all has to do with your birth chart as well, but just generally speaking, that axis is always present. So I do feel there's always an ease to a Capricorn full moon to a degree, but the full moon Capricorn always, I think, overpowers, you know, Cancer season, generally speaking, a little bit until, you know, the moon moves on. But we're dealing with the beginning of Cancer season. So Cancer season didn't technically start yet. You know, it's just getting started. And then we have this crazy Capricorn full moon. So this really sets up, I think, a moment for us to, you know, begin our journey of focus. You know, and that's the word I want to use, because the Gemini new moon, yeah, you know, focus. But of course, Gemini's a little crazy. You know, Gemini's more about like, okay, let's just begin. Let's just do this. Let's just throw some darts against the wall. And, you know, I kind of have an intention in mind. I was telling all of you guys to kind of, you know, try to narrow things down a little bit. But with Gemini energy, that could be a little difficult. But as we get towards the Capricorn new moon, full moon, I keep saying new moon, Jesus. Things are going to become clearer, I think. You know, I think as we do our trial and errors, as we continue to, you know, evolve after this new moon in Gemini, by the time we get to the Capricorn full moon, I think we'll have a clearer mind. I think we'll know what's going to require our focus in our ambitions. And that's why this is so unique, because the summer solstice is also beginning here. So we're having the opportunity to weld and work with so much light. And I think if we can communicate with the Capricorn part of your life, if you can communicate and discuss with the sun in Cancer, you know, again, I believe in meditating with these transits and looking at your life, examining what you are trying to do, whatever the case may be. It's very important to visualize. You know, it's very important to meditate on what you want to manifest, you know, whether inside or without of you, on the outside of you. And that's something I discuss very much in my upcoming mini masterclass, Mapping the Soul, because it's so important to visualize and discuss, you know, telepathically with the planets and transits, so you can use them to your benefit, you know, to get the most out of them and for them to work with you. So yeah, guys, I think that's all I want to say. I do apologize if I bounced around a lot, but I have a lot going on up here in regards to this summer solstice and the Capricorn full moon happening literally on the same day. And I think after all the recent lunar transits we've had, we're kind of getting to a point where we're having our first full moon in an earth sign, and that means serious business. That's a serious business moment. Aside from the new moon in Taurus, but that's like a beautiful beginning of spring and, let's plant some seeds in the ground for some future intentions. And of course, whatever your Taurian story is. Yeah. But the Capricorn full moon is a moment to take advantage of the most light in our world. And even if you're in the southern hemisphere, you can take some of our wisdom from the north and still apply that to your life. Even though in the southern hemisphere, I would just say, hey, take advantage of some of the darkness and go within yourself and see what work need to be done there. But for us in the west and in the north, taking advantage of this Capricorn full moon is like, hey, okay, let's utilize all this light after everything we've been through, after everything we've been trying to figure out. And some of us might have a lot of focus now, actually. And this advantage of the light is just so available. So I think we really need to keep that divine understanding in mind. The availability of so much light to interject into something very physical, tangible that we wish to manifest in the world. And definitely look to the Capricorn part of your life, because that will be highlighted in some way, shape, or form as well. And that might be unique to all these full moon transits, honestly. Just to conclude, I feel like I'm rambling, because every lunar new moon or full moon will fall in a different part of your life. And typically speaking, throughout the year, we have these moments of synchronicity that kind of allow us to, focus on that again, So that's what's so beautiful about astrology, is that these lunar transits really do line up, in conjunction with where they fall into your unique experience. But we can take a holographic view, and we can look at other parts of our life and use the same energies. We can take advantage of all of it, So that's all I have for you guys today. I do hope that this message helped you. Once again, I will talk more about this in the future. And wishing you all well. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all very soon.